those of you who are or will come to hang out with me during the course of this particular live stream. Anyway, I came on here today just to have general conversation in order for me to get to know more about you all that actually come here on YouTube, especially those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. So I just want to get to know a little bit more about what y'all have going on, who you are, where you're from, um, what you feel about the current state of things in America or throughout the world for that matter. Perhaps there's some form of enlightenment that I can give based upon my knowledge of law and politics that could or would clarify many things with regards to what you all have been feeling, thinking, and based upon what you have been led to believe. But yeah, for those of you who are unfamiliar with who I am, my name is Okang Rochelle. I'm from North Carolina. And I had initially decided to download YouTube in order to reach many people in such a short period of time because I've always felt the need to convey to the general population matters associated with law and politics because those are two issues that many of us are not as familiar with to the extent that I believe we all should be. And because of our lack of insight, those whom we have elected or appointed to represent our interests under the Constitution have preyed upon our ignorance in order to take advantage of us. And that's why I believe we have found ourselves in the current state that this country is in at present. How you doing? Have fun day. How you doing? Hello to you too. I believe that's a Gene. Yeah, I appreciate y'all stopping by. Oh, that's good to know. Have fun day. Where you from? If you don't mind me asking. Same for you, Gene. What's going on, Tasha? Tasha Bloom, wifey. How you doing? Appreciate you passing through. Okay, Dallas, Texas in the house. All right. Yeah, I heard they have some things going on with the state legislators of Dallas, and I heard that some member of the Republican Party has instructed them not to leave the General Assembly chambers. You know, kind of weird though, but that's what they get when they impede upon our civil, constitutional, and human rights based upon the laws that they enact in contravention to the Constitution. So, yeah, that's on them. But anyway, what do y'all have going on today? How was your day? Anything special going on this weekend? And Tasha Bloom, wifey. Do you have wifey in your name because you're married or are you single? If you don't mind my asking, of course. You don't have to respond if you don't want to. Oh, school. Okay, have fun day. So I'm assuming that you are in college. Because here in North Carolina, Um, children don't go to school on the weekend. Oh no. Oh, so you're doing school work, or are you saying that you work in a school? Okay, so you are a third grade teacher, I presume. Third grade teacher. What's going on, T New? Oh, student. Okay. Hold up. So you are a student in the third grade. Or are you saying you are, I guess, what they call that in college? Third semester student, perhaps? What's going, T New? Appreciate you passing through. Matter of fact, I appreciate all y'all passing through. Oh yeah, LL, yeah, LL Cool J. He's definitely a legend in the hip hop era. My favorite rapper is Tupac Shakur, but LL was the legend first. Yeah. Okay. Have fun day. Oh yeah, you know it. That's one thing too, man. When we talk about hip hop artists, the word is that when Tupac came on the scene, Will Smith was, I guess, jealous of Tupac. But when I look at it, Will Smith didn't have any reason to be jealous of Tupac because Will Smith was a legend before Tupac came on the scene in his own right. Oh, okay, okay, have fun day. Your father is in college. Understood. I don't know. Yeah, y'all, this is the first time I've ever done this. So I don't know if there's a way for me to subscribe to y'all's channels here. So if any one of you have any insight into whether or not I can do that, feel free to let me know in the comments. And that's just my way of showing my appreciation for each and every last one of you coming here to chat with me, even though you didn't have to. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, that's how friendships are made, right? We come together, we speak, we support each other, we become friends. From friendship turns into perhaps a lifelong relationship, especially when we're looking at it from a man and female perspective, right? When I speak about relationships, but it can be used either way. Yeah, so have fun day. What is your father in college for? What is he studying? Yeah, I took some college courses back in the day. Upholstery was one of them. Oh, you don't know? Okay, that's all right. Oh shoot! Actually, my friends they have a little event going on. For those of you who are in Greensboro, North Carolina, they have an event going on today downtown at their sip and paint establishment that they recently created. So I intend to go down there at 10 o'clock when the second session starts, to check up on them, see who's down there. But if any one of y'all are in Greensboro, North Carolina, if you're interested in sipping and painting, feel free to go down there to the loft and have fun. Definitely if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend. I think that'd be a good thing for a couple from what I've been seeing. At present, I don't have a girlfriend, so I can't take anyone there with me. So I just typically go down there just to check on them. But I might paint, who knows? But then again, I probably won't because it's for couples anyway, so. Oh, okay, substitute teacher. Oh, no, subscribe, got you. Yeah, I appreciate you. Well, I have seen this Have Fun Day. If you subscribe to my channel, it typically lets me know who subscribed. And from there, I can subscribe to yours. So yeah, I definitely do that. But one of the things I speak about on my YouTube channel, y'all, for those of you who are wondering or did not know, is that I've studied law and politics for over 20 years of my life. And during the course of my legal studies, I realized that there was a lot about law that we, as the constituency, have been misled about. And one of the freedoms that I speak about the most, because it is a freedom that is required to safeguard every other freedom that we have, is our civil liberty to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights. So our state and national legislators have created statutory provisions in opposition to the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights that restricts certain members of society from invoking their civil liberty to keep and bear arms through acts of gun control, right? Now, what these legislators don't tell us, which I have found, is that there are many judicial decisions, specifically judicial opinions written by the judges out of the United States Supreme Court, that specifically says that members of Congress, to include state legislators, have no authority under the Constitution to impede upon the right that we have as citizens of this country to keep and bear arms. But yet, those whom we have elected or appointed to represent our interests under the Constitution, to protect the freedoms that we have from enemies, both foreign and domestic, have become the very enemies in which we have placed them in positions of public trust to protect us from, which leaves us no other viable option but to protect the freedoms that we have ourselves. So, what I have downloaded this particular app to do is to show how every act of gun control is unconstitutional and truly makes no sense at all. And I say that because if you all were to look at the firearm statutes, specifically the federal statute, to include many state statutes that actually conforms with federal law under the Supremacy Clause, which is what the Constitution provides should take place under those circumstances. But you will see that our national and state legislators have excluded certain firearms from the prohibition of specific members of society, specifically those who have been previously convicted of felony and certain misdemeanor convictions, um, from having firearms unless those firearms are considered antique firearms. And the definition of an antique firearm under federal law, to include many state laws that comport with federal law, is any firearm that was made or manufactured prior to the year of 1899. So I have in my possession various types of firearms, antiques, modern, what they consider to be under law curio and relics. And part of my YouTube channel, which is what I'm getting around to, although it has taken me a little bit longer than what I anticipated, is to show everyone that the antique firearms that those in civil service claim that people with prior felony and misdemeanor convictions can, in their view, legally own, are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than many of the modern day weapons or firearms that they claim certain individuals cannot have. So, by me showing that, it is my intent to show everybody that gun control laws are highly unreasonable, and they were enacted by incompetent men and women who does not deserve to be in positions of public trust. So that's the whole basis for the YouTube channel that I have constructed. Now, I haven't been in a position as of yet to actually make a video conveying all these facts or factors to you all, but I am working on it, just so you all know. Well, I appreciate it. Have fun day. You seem pretty cool yourself. So, the point is, if a man or woman can have an antique firearm that's just as deadly as a modern day firearm, why should they not be allowed to have a modern day firearm? Those are just questions that we have to ask ourselves. We cannot continuously go through life basing our every move, our every thought, the way that we feel upon what those in civil service feels or believes. Because oftentimes they're dead wrong, y'all. Yeah, I mean, they can manipulate us into believing that certain members of society shouldn't have guns. But at the same time, when we look at the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights, it specifically says that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The definition of infringed means violated, ignored. So if it shall not be ignored or violated, that makes every legislator, every law enforcement officer, every member of the judiciary who has sided with the legislators when they enforce or apply those unconstitutional statutes criminals. Think about that. And one of the ways that I explain this to everybody is this, the way to keep it simple to where anybody can understand it. Now, we all know that laws were designed to protect the freedoms that we have by virtue of being human beings or citizens of this particular country and elsewhere, but specifically the United States of America. So when we look at Article 6 governing the United States Constitution, it clarifies that the Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are considered, along with the Constitution itself, to be the supreme law of the land. So if the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights, which is declared the supreme law of the land, permits every one of us, in spite of our criminal history or not, to keep and bear arms, and to clarify, the words keep and bear respectively means to either openly carry or conceal carry. For those of us who were unfamiliar with that particular definition to those specific words. So if The law permits us to carry and possess firearms. That means that anyone who is exercising a freedom protected by the supreme law of the land are in conformity with the law, which makes them law abiding citizens. Correct? Now, anyone who would encroach upon a civil, constitutional, or human right protected by the supreme law of the land are, in essence, criminals, or the more popular term utilized by those in civil service to describe certain members of the general population, felons. That is the simplest way, through countless years of research and study, that I have grown accustomed to using in order to explain in specific detail that those of us who exercise freedoms are not criminals, and those of us who encroach upon the freedoms that we have are, in essence, the felons. There's a difference. But those in civil service, through acts of manipulation designed to intimidate people, have deceived people into believing that when you violate the law, you are a law-abiding citizen, and if you are in conformity with the law, you are a criminal. That is something that I can never understand. I can never understand how so many of us have allowed propaganda spewed from the lying mouths of politicians to sway us into believing things that are technically untrue. But yes, that's what my YouTube channel is going to primarily be about. And of course, I'm going to be speaking about other freedoms. But like I said, the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights, the liberty that we have to keep and bear arms, to formulate militias, and eliminate anyone who poses a threat to our safety and security, is the very freedom that is relied upon in order to safeguard every other right that we have. Without the right to keep and bear arms, we will be at the mercy of tyrants in civil service, to include terrorists and other criminals in not only this country, but also other countries as well. So this is something that I put out there for many of us to think about. And another thing, being that we all are sovereign, and many people believe that when people like myself utilize the term sovereignty under these circumstances, that there's something wrong with us. But the fact of the matter is, everybody is sovereign. That is supported by Supreme Court precedent and also Federal Circuit Court of Appeals precedent. But being that we are sovereign, we hold the power over those in civil service, meaning we have two freedoms that many of us are unaware of. And those two freedoms are the right of revolution and the right of jury nullification. If we all begin to understand those two freedoms and gain the heart and knowledge that is required to stand on those two freedoms, we will go a long way in this country and elsewhere with regards to correcting the wrongs of our civil servants in public office. Once we correct their wrongs, things will start to become better for us all. But if we still choose to dwell in ignorance and fear, their actions are only going to become worse, to the point to where they will compel people to lash out. But my thing is, if people lash out unprepared, they're more than likely going to fail and their endeavor to check or correct tyrants that are hell bent on oppressing them. So that's just something to think about. And for all of you who just heard what I said, you should convey this information or live stream to people that you do know. And quite frankly, I don't give a crap if it's law enforcement personnel, military personnel, judicial personnel, executive personnel. Doesn't matter. Everybody needs to know because people need to be aware of the reaction that their actions can cause. But that's just what it's about, y'all. But like I said, I'm actually working on publishing a video to explain all these things to each and every last one of you, to each and every last one of my subscribers. And hopefully, in the process of doing so, I will obtain even more subscribers to my YouTube channel. Because I heard that the more subscribers you have, the more that, well, whatever information that is conveyed to the general population, specifically those who subscribe to one's YouTube channel, it helps with the algorithm getting out to where more and more people will come across specific videos or specific content creators. So they say knowledge is a power, right? I agree with that. But if people are unaware or do not have the requisite amount of knowledge, then that knowledge that's out there technically means nothing. It is useless. So, in order to make the knowledge that I have useful, I have to get it out there to many of you. I have to put it in a way to where it's easy for you all to understand, which is what I have been doing for many years now. But I know that a lot of you all, you have to not only hear what someone's saying, but you also want to see it, because when you hear it and see that what it is you're hearing is true, it tends to bring out that fire in people, as it has with me on many occasions. You know, when I started hearing about law, like for instance, I give y'all a perfect example. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Alan Combs show, but he's I guess you could say a political radio talk show host, and I used to listen to him every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And one day, they were talking about the federal government. Okay, federal government. So me accepting the propaganda, as I made reference to earlier, from civilians and public servants alike, I was utilizing that term loosely. Didn't know what the heck it meant. I just knew that many people were using it and the way that they were using it. So I felt as a youngster that whatever they're saying has to be right or correct. I was wrong. So federal government, I used to equate that with those in civil service, that term, federal government. I used to equate that with the governors, the president, judges, police officers. That's what I used to believe federal government meant, until one civilian got up on the show as a host. Well, not host, but as a guest. And what this man said was this, y'all. He said, listen, I'm tired of all of you talking about the federal government when you know not what the federal government truly means. He said that the federal government is not those in civil service. The federal government is not Congress. It is not the president. It is not the judges of the United States Supreme Court or the state court system. He said the federal government is us. They are a part of a central government. That's what he said. So I immediately, being the man that I am, when I hear something that makes sense, I tend to want to check it out, right? See, the guy said what he said. I didn't really have no need to doubt him or reason to doubt him, but at the same time, because I've been believing in something for so long, I just wasn't at that particular moment in time ready to relinquish whatever belief that I had. So I got my dictionary out and I look up the definition of federal government. Lo and behold, the brother was right about us, the constituency, the civilians of this country being the federal government. He was right. So then I look up central government. He was also correct in what he said about those whom we have elected to serve our interests in office are members of a centralized government, whether that centralized government is of this nation or of a specific state that makes up this nation. He was right, y'all. So at that point, I immediately stopped utilizing the term federal government in the incorrect fashion. So, in saying that, I do know the importance of not only speaking about what the facts are, but also supporting the facts with legal authority. And that's what I do. I just won't tell you all something and leave you hanging without showing you some form of legal authority that specifically supports what it is that I have told you all. Because if you all make that change within yourselves, you need the legal authority at your disposal to utilize in order to help you win. I know that. And that is the reason why I do the things that I do in the way that I do them. Now, with that being said, is any one of you who responded earlier still in the chat? Like I said, I've not done this particular type of live stream, so I'm still new to this, y'all. But like I said, one of the primary focal points of this particular live stream is to get to know more about you all. I would like to know more about you all. Like, what are you into? Do you have any questions associated with law or politics that has been on your mind for many years that you are unsure of? Or should we can just have a general conversation, general chat? Like, have fun day here. We just had a general chat. And D Ward, see? That's what it's about, y'all, because I want the best for us all, but I know that there are bad, wicked people in this world that just won't allow us good men and women to prevail. So we're going to have to fight physically for what it is we believe in order to make the requisite changes that are necessary to ensure, as the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights say, the security of a free state. Or to be more specific, the security of a free people who resides in every state that makes up this nation. But yes, that's where I am, y'all. I have this material that we make on a job. And so one of my plans is once I get situated, I'm actually going to the private range to help, clean it up a little bit before we go back to shooting. And I'll definitely have some more content for you all in the short story of YouTube. But I have this material that they make on the job. I don't know what the material is made out of. It's a secret. No one tells anybody anything, and rightfully so. But the material is hard, y'all. And what I'm gonna do, which is the reason why I got the material with the permission of the employer, but I'm going to fire rounds from an antique firearm and a modern day firearm at these particular blocks because I'm of the impression, like I told you all earlier in this live stream, that the rounds from an antique firearm, specifically a 38 Smith& Wesson or 38 Colt or long Colt round, is just as powerful, if not more so, than a 380 ACP, to include a 9mm round. Now, I can't say that about the 38 Smith& Wesson round that I have um, and pitting it against a 9mm round, because I've actually tested that, but not on this material, but on another a piece of material. And both rounds went clean through the material that I tested it on. And I used hollow points in the 9mm to um, mimic the softness of the lead round, because with antique firearms, for the most part, the rounds at those times were lead based. Okay, for the most part, specifically handguns, but you do have rifles, as you all will see in my short stories, that actually fires um, full metal jacket, fixed ammunition. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. That round from the 7mm Mauser is more devastating than a round from an AR-15 chambered in 223 Remington or 5.56 by 45mm. Just as deadly, y'all. So the point is, if a person with a prior felony conviction can have, let's say, the 7mm Mauser, which is considered an antique under federal and many state laws, then why is it a man of the same stature or woman of the same status cannot have, let's say, a 450 Bushmaster bolt action rifle? And my little brother told me about that, y'all. When I first started or talked about creating a YouTube channel to educate people on matters related to actual gun laws, he was saying, Okang, the bolt action rifle and the AR, what they would say is that the AR rifle shoots faster than the bolt action. I said, you know what, Omar, you're right. And he was like, in addition to that, the AR carries more rounds. So I said, you know what, you're right again. So I'm going to pit a handgun or firearm with firearm of equal status, so to say. So that's why I would use a bolt action against a bolt action, right? But then again, when you look at bolt action, it's really no different from a pump action or a lever action, right? Because it takes the same amount of time to um, send a round home to the chamber as it would a lever action or a pump, especially for those of us who are familiar with the use of firearms, like Jerry Michalik, for example. For those of you who know him, I'm pretty sure he can fire the doggone bolt action just as quick as he could a semi-auto. So, or a single action revolver as fast as he can do a semi-automatic handgun with a single action revolver. I've seen them do that. So that's what I'm doing, y'all. And I have a Remington 1858 chambered in 45 Colt. I would pit that against the 1911. Now, albeit the 1911 holds 2 additional rounds, but 2 additional rounds, looking at it from the perspective of some civilians, to include members in civil service, with regards to whether or not a person wants to commit a crime with a firearm or not, is basically besides the point. I mean, it's just as bad if a person was to kill 8 people compared to killing 6. To me, it's all the same in my eyes, because every life has a reason, right? So for them to attempt to utilize that argument is irrelevant. But I can also utilize the fact that There are derringers out here, right? Derringers, two-shot derringers. A person would need to undergo a dumb, silly, unconstitutional background check in order to purchase one of those particular derringer pistols from a federal firearms license dealer, whereas an individual who wants an antique firearm, whether that firearm be solely single action or double action, doesn't have to go through the process of having a silly background check conducted, which rightfully so, they shouldn't. But what do y'all think would be worse though? Do you think a person that's hell bent on harming somebody would be more dangerous with a two-shot Derringer or a five-shot double action 38 Smith and Wesson pistol? There's something to think about. So if a man can have the five-shot uh, uh, 38 Smith and Wesson pistol, which is double action, why wouldn't that same individual not be allowed to have the two-shot Derringer? You see how gun laws make no sense. And I oftentimes think that politicians just wake up some days and say, you know what, let's make the most outrageous law imaginable just to have the public jump when we tell them to jump. It's like they get a kick out of this. And it doesn't help matters when people follow along with that incompetent behavior. You know what Andrew P. Napolitano said in his book titled, "It is Dangerous to Be Right When the Government is Wrong, The Case for Personal Freedom," published in the year of 2011 on page 121. He said, and I quote, "What the government ignores is that our right to keep and bear arms is a natural or fundamental right," end quote. That is an absolutely correct statement. They know what the Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights is, but they choose to ignore it because to ignore that specific freedom, it puts them in a position to be unchecked when they subject us to acts of abuse, neglect, and tyranny, primarily designed to fulfill their personal, political, business, financial, and oftentimes spiritual interests or agendas. But we as civilians, as individuals, we miss the mark when they do things like that towards us. And many of us feel like we want to side with those in civil service because we feel that by doing so, it makes us a part of something greater than ourselves. When the fact of the matter is, if we elect or appoint certain members of society to specific positions of public trust, they ought to be looking up to us for guidance, right? Because after all, they are our representatives. They represent our interests under the Constitution, right? So why have we as people in general allowed them to flip the script on us, making us believe in the opposite, making us believe that we got to look up to them, making them believe that we are inferior to them, even though the fact of the matter is we will survive without them, but they can never survive in the positions of public trust that they are in without us, y'all. That's a fact. A fact that it is high time that every single one of us grasp the realization of and move accordingly. Because if we don't, and I'm going to leave y'all with this, things are only going to become worse in this country and elsewhere for that matter. The only difference is some of us are going to be hit harder by acts of oppression than others. It's the only difference, y'all. But we definitely have to wise up as individuals and come together collectively. And I say collectively because if we come together collectively, we can cover more ground quicker. Not to say that we need people to effectuate change. It only takes one man or woman to effectuate major change. It's just that that one man or woman is going to have to do something so drastic to where their actions are equivalent to many men and women. But it can and has been done, and perhaps even will be done again at some point in the foreseeable future. But I want all you to be safe, right? That's what I want for each and every last one of you. I want you all to be safe. I want us all to get along, but we have to be reasonable that we all are not going to get along because certain people do not want that to happen. Certain people wants to take advantage of us to gain for themselves at our expense. We, my brothers and sisters, cannot allow that to happen. And I'm going to tell you all something. If I'm ever called to serve on grand jury duty or petit jury duty, if any one of your freedoms were violated as a result of you being apprehended or arrested by some member in law enforcement, I will refuse to indict you, and I most definitely will refuse to convict you. Keep that in mind. And I hope you all feel the same about what I just said, because we have to start utilizing our authority, y'all. If we don't, it's going to become non-existent when it really matters the most. Keep that in mind. And for all of you who haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, they say it's free. Only thing it takes is a few little clicks here and there, I believe. Do so, because there are things that definitely needs to be put out there for public consumption. And whether many of you believe it or not, I am the man to do that with, or to do that for you all. But when I get a big enough following and more of you come into the fray, you can send me questions in the DM. You can do that now. You don't have to be a subscriber to do that, but it will help if you do eventually decide to subscribe as well. But I'm definitely going to see what I can do, which is what I have been doing, to effectuate much needed changes in this country and world for that matter. With that being said, I appreciate again every one of you who has come through, to include those of you who have engaged in conversation with me. I appreciate that. So until next time, you all take heed to what I said and be safe out here.